Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you remain standing for a moment, please. Heavenly Father, while we are now officially entering the holiday season with the arrival of Thanksgiving, Lord, help us to give glory to God and be thankful every day of our lives for what you give us. I am thankful for a strong administration, a strong council, strong leadership amongst our directors, and faithful and loyal employees of the great city of Pataskala. I am thankful for our many service groups, organizations, businesses, and residents who give back to our city and remain positive in their outlook for the future of our fine city. So Lord, bless us in our endeavors and decisions this evening, and we ask for all of this in your holy name. Amen. Kathy, roll, please.
Carter. Here. Walther.
Here.
Howe.
Here.
Barstow.
Here.
Hayes. Here. Hicken.
Here.
Lee.
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum present.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Hicken.
I would like to make a motion to amend the agenda to add an executive session after 9, item number 9. In other words, after additional citizens' comments, under 122, 21.22 G3.
Got a motion for an executive session. Need a second.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Powell. Discussion? And roll.
Walther.
Yes.
Howe.
Yes.
Barstow.
Yes.
Hayes. Yes. Hicken.
Yes?
Lee.
Yes.
Carter.
I will be abstaining from any votes dealing with the executive session this evening, or the topic altogether.
Okay, motion passes with one abstain. So we will amend the agenda at 9A, go into executive session. Thank you, Mr. Hicken. Okay, we'll go on to citizens' comments. Anybody wish to speak tonight? Okay. Yes, sir.
Yes, may I speak?
Sure.
Thank you.
Need a name and address, and you have 5 minutes, sir.
Thank you.
Mhm.
My name is Gary Kendall. I live at 11254 Cable Road in the city of Pataskala. I just wanted to, I appreciate you listening to me because based on a screw up of my own, I intended to send an application resume in for reappointment to the Planning and Zoning Board. Unfortunately, on my end, I didn't verify that it went through. I sent a brief request this afternoon at the latest time I possibly could have ever done it. And I'm just requesting that you forgive me on that matter and consider me for reappointment on the Planning and Zoning Board. My perspective, at least as my participation on the board has been for the majority of the city and not just the rural area, which I prefer to preserve as much as possible. But I think that important to what we do on that board is that we look at all the different aspects of where development goes, how it affects the city, and one really big concern for me is the fact that the impact we are having on our schools is really tremendous and affects all of us as taxpayers. I think it's one of the very important elements. Unfortunately, there's not a whole lot that we can do relative to development other than to redirect it as much as possible and try to preserve our ag district as long as possible. I think there's a number of other aspects of that obviously we all should have interest in. But at this point, I know I went beyond the deadline for requesting reappointment and sending in a resume. I've been on the board for a number of years. It's been my privilege to do so, and I hope you'll consider me for reappointment on that board. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else wish to speak tonight? Okay, seeing none, I'm gonna turn the gavel over to President of Council, Mr. Timothy O. Hicken, to conduct the interviews for Planning and Zoning and PBR.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have, I will refresh everybody's memory that at the last meeting, due to a scheduling conflict, we had Ms. April Begara interviewed for the Personnel Board of Review. Tonight, we have 3 individuals for Planning and Zoning and 2 for the Personnel Board of Review. We have 3 vacancies on each, as a reminder. And so I would, I'm gonna reverse the order just a little bit because Mr. Boggs and Mr. Ripley, I think this, so for the most part, this formality is the wrong word, but I don't know, I think those will be shorter. I don't know what, any questions anybody might have for Mr. Begara. So with that said, I would ask, is Mr. Boggs here? Thank you for coming, Mr. Boggs.
Thank you.
Name and address.
Rick Boggs, 4653 Headley's Mill Road.
And I guess I would start off, I usually do this round robin style, but I'll just go ahead and throw this out. Why would you like to stay on the board?
Well, I think in the 23 years that I served on the commission, I've contributed to the well-being of the city, and still got some ideas that things have not been completed along the way, but I'd like to continue that process.
Great. Any specific questions from council? I think we probably all had a chance to look at your resume, like I said, and we, with that
I
experience.
guess I'm kind of a known quantity.
Thank you very much for your service to the city, so. No questions appearing? Thank you very much, and thank you for the interest.
Thank you.
That would, move us to Mr. Rick.
Randall Ripley, 11465 Cable Road in Pataskala.
I think, probably same question, right? So, thank you for your service, and also, why do you wish to continue on the board?
Sure. I prepared a little single page that you all have, and I tried to make 2 general points. One, obviously, I've served a long time too. I went on the commission in 2002 and have been there ever since. So I think I know a good deal about the city, and the 2 touchstones for making decisions that are written are really the comprehensive plan, which obviously is being revised at present, which is good. You should revise every now and then. And I know a lot about the zoning code, probably not as much as Rick, but a great deal. The other thing that I really concentrated on in that little memo I wrote was the way we proceed. We really try and be fair to everybody. We invite people to comment, just citizens comment, come to the meetings and comment on various proposals. And we try and reach consensus. And I would guess, and Rick, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I would guess something like 97.24% of all of our decisions are unanimous. And that's really our goal, to talk through things until we reach agreement. The few occasions on which we've had disagreement and a split commission, we've been very, we wouldn't work well in Congress because we're very respectful of each other and very professional, we think. And some of you have been to some of our meetings. So I think if I'm reappointed or asked to serve again, I'd be glad to. Obviously, that's why I'm here. But I would continue to support the norms of fairness and seeking consensus rather than making it a sort of a bear pit for disagreement and, you did this, you did that. I mean, that's just alien to us. So let me leave it at that.
Great. Any specific questions from council?
No, thank you.
None apparent? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. That moves us on to Mr. Begara. Welcome, Mr. Beggerow. Name and address?
So, Robert Begaro, 118 Woodside Drive.
And like I said before, usually most of the submissions have been given to us all, but just a little bit about yourself and your interest in the position.
Right now, I'm a consultant for Columbus Regional Airport Authority. Do project management for them in their technology groups with the different infrastructure that's going on out at the airport, and Rickenbacker and the different places. Interested in this role because I've dealt with a lot of different zoning issues across the country, with my projects being delayed and different ones doing that, and it's a little bit smaller of a community since I moved here about 4 years ago, and it just seems very interesting to kind of get into this arena and kind of get on the other side of it a little bit.
Great. I would point out that this is not the first time you've applied for a position on a board or commission with the city, so thank you very much for your stick-to-itiveness. And again, I would throw it open. Any specific questions from anybody up here? I don't have any either, but I am very grateful that you applied.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. For all those in attendance that applied or are seeking the position, I would remind you that motions will be made almost at the end of the meeting, and it's not necessary for you to stay, but you're certainly welcome to. Should that, in other words, I guess what I want to get across is we'll probably be taking those motions tonight. So that moves us on to Personnel Board of Review. Is Ms. Becky Smith here?
Good evening.
Good evening.
I am Becky Smith. I live at 1098 Oxford Drive North here in Tascala.
You've seen the way the questions are going, so thank you.
Let me guess. You
Thank
want to know why I want to stay on the board?
Thank you for your service, and why would you like to stay on the board?
I am very interested in staying on the board. I started with the board back in January of 2015. My first meeting was in February. We've got a lot of work to do. It's really exciting being on the board because we have the opportunity to meet several of the departments and learn about what they do in their hiring processes, which is very exciting to me. One of the big things that we're working on as we go into the new year is really drilling down our process for handling escalations or cases. We haven't had any of those since I've started, and we're always waiting to, kind of see what that's like and what the process is. But everybody's doing a great job, so we haven't had to be involved in that. But we are looking at narrowing, really hammering down our process. So if there's appeals or questions, we have that squared away. We've worked with the law director, and he's kind of given us some direction on which way we need to go. So that's probably our biggest push as we go into the new year, and I'm excited to be a part of that process and learn how that works, and see if we might get to use it at some point.
Great. Any specific questions from council? Thank you for
You
your,
guys are too easy.
thank you for your interest.
Have a good evening.
And the final interview of the night would be for Mr. Troy Mills. Hi, Mr. Mills.
Good evening.
Once again, thank you so much. I'll let you get the address and stuff out of the way, and then
Troy Mills, 776 Woodington Drive.
thank you for your interest in applying again. Why would you like to stay?
Well, Becky stole a lot of the thunder. We really enjoy working with each other. We work well as a group. We've lately, the last year or so, enjoyed meeting all the department heads. And about the last year, we've had a lot of work. A lot of hiring going on, which is good for the city. And the initiative, we're going to try to put some processes in place for hearings and such. And I'd like to stay on and see that through.
Great. Specific questions from council? Thank you so much.
We're just that easy.
I know. I just like to hear it. Mr. Mayor, I'll hand the gavel back to you as the interviews are concluded.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
So 3 for planning and zoning and 3 for PBR, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. All right, moving on. Introduction, discussion, and approval of consent agenda matters.
So moved.
Second by Mr. Hicken and seconded by Mr. Barstow. Discussion? And roll.
Carter,
Yes.
Walter,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Pickens,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Okay, consent agenda passes. On to reports. I'll save my remarks for later. Timothy O'Hicken, what do you got for me?
I guess I have three quick things. The first one is, we will not have another meeting before the cookie walk, so everybody should know that the cookie walk is taking place. I think it's the 2nd of December. Is it the 1st of December? Thank you very much. Good time. It's usually fun to walk out there and you see lots of people, so try to get that on your calendars. I would also like council, I don't think we need to make the motion tonight, because I think we need to make sure the budget process is moving forward correctly. But just a bug in your ear about thinking about canceling the December 17th meeting for council. We've done that several years now. As long as everything gets wrapped up properly, we would probably do that at the next meeting, which is the first meeting in December. And then directly related to what we just, the service we just performed, the interviews, when the time comes to make motions, I would remind council that one of the seats is a pending seat, or it's non-filled. So and that is for the Personnel Board of Review. So we have 2 seats to fill for a full term and 1 seat to fill for the term ending December 31st, 2019. So don't be surprised if the motions come and they're kind of broken up a little bit differently. That's why. Just housekeeping stuff. And that's all for me.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anything for Tim? Okay, Mr. Zetz?
Nothing, thank you, Mayor.
All right, Mr. King?
Thank you, Mayor. I have a couple items. First of all, I want to welcome Chris Sharrock, who is here serving as interim utilities director. Chris will have an opportunity to address council here coming up shortly. Please take it easy on him, his first time. Request that, but you don't have to listen to that. One other utility-related item, and Chris will probably touch on this, our first field tech replacement started today. Spent the day with Chris going around. We didn't extend an offer, but we received a background check on another one. Unfortunately, it did not work out, so we will not be extending an offer, and we will be re-advertising. We received 5 applications previously, interviewed 2, the other 3 did not return calls for interviews, so we will be re-advertising, meaning that we'll end up back in front of PBR to certify a list again. I've talked to Chris about the on-call schedule, and they've got everything handled for that. Tim mentioned the cookie walk Sarah McGuire provided, and it's on everybody's desk, a flyer about the cookie walk that's coming up. Everything seems to be falling into place, and just a reminder that City Hall will be closed Thursday and Friday of this week in observance of the Thanksgiving holiday. And with that being the case, I'd like to wish everybody a very happy Thanksgiving. Happy to answer any questions that council may have.
Okay. Mr. Nicholson?
Thank you, Mayor. A couple things. We have an amendment to the supplemental tonight. The police department, or not, sorry, not the police department, the public service department and the parks department are proposing to split a gator. And so there's an appropriation on the supplemental, so that we're requesting a amend by substitution on that tonight. The property liability, we have submitted our insurance renewal information to the Ohio Plan. So that's in process, and they've confirmed that they should have it back to me no later than probably around the 10th to 12th of January. So we're on track for probably either the middle of January or 1st of February meeting to propose that legislation. Budget is 3rd reading tonight, and I think we're good to go on that. Okay, that's all I have.
Anything for Jamie?
Jamie, I have one quick question. You talked about, when you guys talk about the resolution that's on for tonight, I'm sorry, it is the resolution for Hull.
Yes.
And I don't know which of you this is, so I'll just ask you both. I saw the dollar amount jumped from somewhere in the mid-90s to like 120 something. Is that because we leaned heavier on them, or is that because they have this magic percentage bump that just everybody in the business has?
It has nothing to do with the percentage bump. That's something actually that I requested talking to them, because we did rely heavily on them for stuff and got real creative. And actually, where we stand with the budget right now, we're gonna have to back off a little bit for the rest of the year to meet that. That 120 is a not to exceed amount, but I just wanted to I anticipate that things are just gonna continue to get busier, and that we're gonna need some additional service from them, moving forward. And if I can just real quick, the 120 amount is what is built into the budget. It proposed 2019 budget.
And, this can wait, so I'm gonna ask Lanier, are you gonna talk about the gate?
Yes.
Then I have no more questions.
Let me piggyback on the Gator, or the, I'm sorry, on the hall question. So when you're looking at leaning on them more, I read their proposal, and I'm trying to understand what general services means exactly to hall. So let me just ask a quick example. And I know they spent quite a bit of time reviewing traffic studies. Is that under general services? Does that typically get billed against this contract, or is that an additional cost?
Typically, it's an additional cost.
So when you're talking about general services, you're talking about going to meetings, right? Preparing for those meetings, does it include, for instance, when P&Z needs a review of a application, and they need to look at drainage or erosion control methods or whatever, is that included in general services?
The original application, yes, but when it gets into engineering, the applicant submits money to fund the review of engineering plan review. It
So,
also includes going out, meeting with residents, coming up with options for drainage, sort of stuff. It's anything that does not necessarily require design of a certain project, if that's a good way to put it. A capital improvement project.
okay. And you said this is a not to exceed number,
Correct.
so you guys get billed monthly on this, and then you go
Monthly
back-
billed on the hours.
And I assume Alan's in charge of going through that and making sure that those are acceptable bills?
We all take a look at it.
Everybody takes a look at
Yeah,
it?
and it's billed on the hours used.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else? All right. Interim Utility Director, Chris Sharrock.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm just gonna hit some highlights of the council report that's submitted. We have the rental press that we've been using at the wastewater facility, was loaned back out again last week, which, they had a previous commitment with a different customer. So they took the press and gave it to them for a week. The permanent press has been taking a little bit longer than we anticipated to get it in, but it should start, December 3rd. They should start moving forward with that, so that's, it'd be nice to get that ball rolling. The department has started an informational outreach program that you may have noticed on the Facebook page. First one was about water towers, and just some simple facts on what the water tower does and how it affects the system. I plan on doing one a month, different parts of the systems, both water and sewer, and just trying to get some information out to people just to let them know what we're doing. The water plant, one had a high service pump that went down. We recently got that replaced. And an update to the report, when we first turned it on, it kicked out the breakers and we had to get some more work done to them, but they, Buckeye pumps came out. Pump is in operation fine, now everything's good, so it's nice to have that back online. And the utility department and the public service department have teamed up together to eliminate some redundancy in our OOPS locating process. We had a guy for the utilities department, a guy for public service department would often go to the same location to locate storm lines and water and sewer lines. Now we have that all consolidated under one person, which is kind of nice. Helps speed things along. And then there's the field technician openings that BJ talked about today. One of the employees started today. He's really excited about things. He's asking a lot of questions. Looks really good. The other employee, weren't able to offer it to him. Didn't quite go the way we wanted to. So the department will just pick up the slack until we can move on and get that position re-interviewed and hopefully filled. Outside of that, I don't have anything unless there's any questions.
Any questions for Chris? Yes.
Chris, when one press is gone, and you've got one coming in on the 3rd, what's happening in the meantime? Are we using the old one?
So the old one is,
Figured it was pretty dead.
can't use that one.
Right.
So the temporary press is back and we can use that to fill the gap until the permanent press gets installed. So it was last week that they had to take it away for the week. So we've got that back, and we'll just continue to use the temporary press until a new one comes in.
And this is probably a BJ question, but you mentioned that it went wrong. Is that gonna require some type of a change?
Certainly could, and we're meeting at 10 o'clock tomorrow to review that and the permanent press.
Okay.
What we're looking at, so.
The other question is, you talked about the new person. Is that an Allen shop or your shop?
The new employees here at the utility.
Not the new employee, the new oops person.
That's coming from the public service
Okay.
employee. Yeah.
That's it for me.
Anything else for Chris? Yes, sir.
How's product?
Product's looking good.
Well, Chris, I appreciate you putting something out there on social media because a lot of questions are often geared towards the water department and anything we can do. In fact, I found that even that small paragraph that you did on the water towers was interesting on when they need sealed and cleaned and, you know, make sure that the water's good. So, nice point, nice little paragraph, short and sweet and informational. So thank you. Keep it up.
Thank you, appreciate that. I will.
Anything else? All right. Mr. Haynes.
Thank you, Mayor. Couple of updates, railroad crossings, the railroad redid the crossings at Connors Avenue and Columbia Road last week. Those are both done and back open and look pretty good and ride quite a bit better. Mink Street, if you've been down that way, is looking pretty good. It is now open to traffic until next spring when we will do the final phase and do the surface course of asphalt on the entire road. So anticipate starting back up likely in March, maybe April, depending on the weather. And then the last thing I have is the Pataskala Safe Travel Plan. We did get the bid we had the bid opening on Thursday. Unfortunately, I had one bidder, and that was not awardable. We've looked, taken an interim look at the bid tab. There's a number of items that were higher than expected, and trying to figure out why that was. We're guessing maybe it was the size of the project and the variability of the items on the project. We didn't really get larger contractors looking at it because there was small amounts of a bunch of little things. So we're gonna look at that and see what we can do to fine tune that a little bit, and then also look at the potential of, we're planning on doing phase 2 in 2019, which is the sidewalk between roughly Subway and the intersection, potentially combining those, getting that work done early and trying to rebid phase 1 and phase 2, and potentially February of 2019. We would save the bidding cost of rebidding this and make it a little bit larger economy of scale type of project. Other than that, happy to answer any questions.
Ma'am?
Alan, I'm gonna just ask it to you, and somebody else may have gotten information on it, but did you receive any complaints, Chief, from you as well, about the traffic, on the west side of town in the past couple of weeks because they shut down Wagner Road?
I have heard things about Wagner Road over the past couple months because we had things going on, but nothing specifically in the past couple weeks.
So this is where, when I say, you know, and you guys get, I'm sure, tired of hearing me say, you know, I know those roads because I drive them every day. I'm not exaggerating when I say 3 days. Last week, they shut down Wagner Road, between their tracks in North right before East Point Church. So right before Kennedy Road. So Summit, Taylor were arteries, and Havens Corners, I spent 45 minutes from the intersection at Havens Corners and Summit to barely Cleveland, trying to get to Broad Street because I needed some daggone milk. We didn't get milk. So, but it was like that for 3 straight days. Absolute gridlock on the west side of town. I saw people driving through people's roads, cutting through, I came down Kennedy, people cutting through subdivisions. I'm not exaggerating when I say Taylor Road from Havens Corners to the tracks, because a train came, was absolutely full on both sides. It's the most insane thing I've ever seen. So, and the fact that as extreme as it was, that there wasn't more talk about it with council and, you know, I heard nothing from your email or anything, and just saying that, you know, those complaints obviously didn't make it this way very much, said a lot to me about the representation and who's on the west side of town. So, just that, you know, nobody else down here sees it. And so that was a little eye-opening and maddening, and there was nothing we could do about it. They shut down Wagner and we're at their mercy, but it was bad. So,
Mr. Morrison.
Well, no, there's a project going on north of Wagner. I know there's construction at Wagner and Broad, and they're putting in a turn lane, or turn lanes, because they're building a UDF or gas station or something on one of the corners. So there's a lot of activity going on there. We don't have, obviously we have zero control over what goes on there, but, I don't know, how do they put out any information about that, BJ? Is there any announcements? Not that
I haven't heard.
Not that the city of Columbus could give.
They didn't have any advance notice, by the way.
Yeah,
I
haven't
go
heard.
these directions all the time also, and there was zero advance notice.
well, I mean, to be fair, I mean, we did it on our own side of town and we didn't have any notice. So, I mean, within ourselves, so, but I'm just, I mean, I've lived there for 13 years, I've never seen, I could not get out of my complex or get to it. It was craziness, so.
Yes.
Alan, two things. One, on the Pataskala Safe Travel Plan, I'd certainly like to explore those options with the street committee. If you can bring I think that'd be the right place to kind of start looking at some ideas on that. Certainly love to see the bid and try to understand what happened there. Thought we had a pretty good plan together there. And then on the second one, question on Paul's proposal. Was that, and again, I'm not saying anything that's derogatory towards Hall at all, but with a 20% increase, did we get any other proposals for that, for engineering for the city services?
I did not actually review that specifically.
No, we did not. I remember talking about it at the street committee meeting and saying our desire was to proceed with Hull, so we did not go out to bid based on the recommendation.
Well, and I think the recommendation might have been, my recollection was that we were talking about the same dollars. We weren't talking about a 20% increase. I'm very confident that that was not brought up. So that surprised me when I saw this, the same as I think Mr. Hicken has mentioned. You know, that kind of increase seems quite large for, and again, just trying to understand the workload for attending meetings, and I understand we have a lot of drainage problems. There's no doubt about that. Nobody's, everybody I think understands that. But if all these other things that are being asked for from the engineer is additional cost, I'm concerned at least that we're seeing a 20% increase without any other proposals. So I'll just leave it at that.
Mr. Hicken.
Alan, obviously the safe streets thing is a disappointment. Mr. Walter talked about it coming back to the street committee, and I assume the decision will be made between the administration and the street committee as to whether you're gonna combine those. I guess my question would be, under the combining plan, you were looking at bidding it in February. When were you thinking the project would start anyway? Even if we bid it in December, or accepted a bid in December.
Probably gonna be spring when the weather is available.
So it doesn't, if it happens to work out, it's not gonna cause a delay.
Not substantial. I mean, maybe a month or two, because there's things that they probably could have done in the winter, but not substantial.
And then the other thing I would ask is, sitting down with the one person that did bid it and ask them, I don't know, is there some switch that we can change to a generic switch or something, you know, like we did with the police station, like we did with everything that comes in hot. I don't know if that's in your plans or not, but I would recommend that.
We actually,
If you wanna go ahead and hit on that, so.
yeah, the one bidder was there, and we asked them some questions. We're very familiar with him, it's Jess Howard. And he had a couple of thoughts that, of what we could do different, so we're gonna look at those.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
On the engineering, so BJ, if we were to bid that, how long,
We're not gonna have somebody under contract come January 1.
when did we get the proposal from Hall? Did it come in pretty soon?
November 5th.
Okay. And, Mr. Zatz, by doing this in an unbid fashion, are we doing anything improper?
No, because it's a contract for professional services.
Just curious, thanks.
Nice
Can I ask-
job.
Can I ask one more quick question? Do you mind?
Sure, go ahead.
Just to qualify that, is the, and I didn't see it in the proposal, the 120,000, are we asking for more hours, or are we getting a rate that's increased with a,
Looking for more hours from
we're
them.
looking for more
work
hours, but the
product from
rate
them.
is essentially staying the same?
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank
more
you.
hours from them, more work
That's fine,
product from
that's what I
them, same
wanted,
rates.
I needed to clarify
Service.
that, thanks.
And this is a not, Mr. Mayor, it's a not to exceed contract, so if we're efficient and we only have to pay them $97,000, that's all we have to pay them. We're not, it's not a flat fee contract, we're gonna send them a check for $10,000 every month, right?
Yeah. Correct. We've used Jobs a lot, and I anticipate, or Hull, I guess we'll call them now. We've used them a lot this year, and I anticipate that's going to continue moving forward with what we're seeing happening.
We're speculating on more projects and we're gonna cover ourselves.
Right.
Basically, okay. Any other questions, input? Nice job on the 2 ice storms. That was, unpredicted and dicey since it was right at that temperature again. So kudos for being ready, cause a lot of people weren't. So I was out there with the guys and they were slinging salt, waving at each other, so good job. And thank you for your, in advance for your work on, we couldn't do it, the cookie walk without, street department again supplying, putting up the banners, bringing out the barricades and all that good just stuff, so, thank you very much for that. And it's amazing, I've already said this to you, but I'll say it again, it's amazing how, it's almost kinda neat that they haven't finished Mink, because it shows you how good that road is when you funnel down to that piece of crap that we've gotta wait another year for. That's very dangerous, very skinny. What a project that needed to be done, so, yes.
Sorry, I got a couple of questions from some folks. Are there gonna be any turn lanes in Mink, or is it just gonna be, I mean, considering what we had, it seems like, freeway size thing going down there. Is there gonna be any turn lanes or anything? I didn't think so. It's just wider.
Just 2 lanes with a 4 to 8 foot berm.
Right. Okay. All right. Thanks. And I drove on Saturday. It's fantastic. And I came around, down Columbia and drove on the new bridge, and that was quite the little tour of projects. Looks good. Good
Good stuff.
And also, again, good job on the roads.
Thank you, I'll pass that
Sure.
along.
Scott Fulton.
Thank you, Mayor. Ordinance 2018-4314, this is the McClellan rezoning. At the last council meeting, it was amended by substitution to indicate that the L4 landscaping was to be installed by July 1st of 2019. The ordinance has been updated, so this will be on tonight for the 4th reading for that. And then the other thing I wanted to highlight is the grass and weed violation lien. I've attached the report indicating with the invoice the cost of the service. Then there's an administrative fee of either $200 or 20%, whichever is greater. So the $200 would apply, so the total lien would be $950 to be placed on the property. A motion will be coming at the next council meeting for council's consideration. Also, there was, as I mentioned, there's a question about the ownership of the property. The property owner has passed away and is not transferred to anybody else. We did reach out to the probate court and have been working with some family members to determine what's going on from that perspective. We'll also be reaching out to the land bank to see if we can't resolve the ownership issue, so this is not an annual thing where we have to pay to mow it. And I would be happy to answer any questions.
Anything for Scott? Yes.
Scott, just to mention what we had spoken about before the meeting, I noticed in your report about the 50-foot spacing of the trees. I would mention that that's very dangerous to go to that. It's a precedent-setting agreement, and I understand the deal with Westport, but you know, as I said to you, in any other community, that would be laughed out of the office. They would never do 50-foot spacing. So I just want to warn that really caught my eye as something that I felt was strange, and with, you know, the continual discussion about, you know, having this more of a rural feel in most residential areas, you know, 50-foot spacing is very, you know, normal, and I think our code even says 30 feet, but normal 30 is your minimum spacing. So I just want to mention that again, and I'm hopeful that that gets relayed to planning and zoning, that I think that sets a very dangerous precedent.
Will do.
So we're normally at 30 and they've asked for 50?
They got 50.
The situation with that project, and this is Broadmoor Commons, which is out just west of Mink. With that project, at the time they came through, the city public service director was adamant that no trees were to be placed within the right-of-way, or so the tree lawn. That created an issue because the code requires that they be placed for every 30 lineal feet of road frontage within the tree lawn. So we kind of came to an impasse where the city doesn't want them, but the code requires it. So there was an arrangement through their project where the trees will be placed 5 to 10 feet outside of the public right-of-way on private property. So that was agreed to, it went through the process, and they moved forward. They started building homes, and it became an issue because if you remove certain trees per our code, you have to replace trees. So some of these trees could be placed on lots as replacement. So there were some lots within the subdivision where you would have the replacement tree, and then you'd have essentially what amounted to street trees but placed on private property. There were some lots that had upwards of 8 trees on the property. In trying to implement that, it became very difficult. The plans were inaccurate in terms of, or it wasn't extremely clear in terms of where the trees, what lot got what trees. And then after folks moved in, had their house, the developer would show up, or their landscaper would show up with a truck full of 8 trees and say, where do you want them? From our perspective, that's not gonna make a homeowner very happy, because these lots aren't 2-acre lots that could easily accommodate 8 trees. So from our perspective, they go out, they're installed, the homeowner's probably not gonna be happy. The developer's gonna say, the city's making us do this. They're not gonna say, this is what was proposed in our plan. Then, how long do those trees stay there? If someone doesn't like 8 trees, maybe by this time next year, all of them are gone. So we didn't, at the end of the day, we've accomplished nothing in terms of doing street trees or any tree replacement. So with that, we thought that if they're going to go through and pay and amend their plan to do it at 50 feet in the tree lawns, that was better as a compromise because they had approval to put them on the private lots. So if we said, nope, it has to be 30 feet, ultimately they could have said, you know what, we're not interested in amending our plan, we're just gonna go out and put them on the private lots, and if all those disappeared, so be it. So we felt, while we like the 30 feet and feel that's appropriate, in this instance it was kind of that transitional period from no trees in the tree lawn to let's do it, that we thought it was a compromise wherein ultimately it's a better option than having someone put 8 trees on a lot and then a property owner remove 7, 8 of them. So it was kind of a compromise to meet the intent of the code while not doing this and then ultimately accomplishing nothing where, to 85% of the homeowners then removed the trees that were placed on the lot. So it was a compromise. I agree, 30 foot is per the code and is better, but in this instance, it was, meeting the intent and ultimately, not creating a situation that was more problematic.
Scott, I certainly understand the deal. I understand what's going on. The other suggestion that I would have would be, I know all subdivisions have open space. We have numerous parks that need trees. I don't see why they couldn't have been more creative with where they could put these trees, instead of just putting in half as many trees as they would have.
And the street trees would not count in the open space.
I understand that.
Then with the issue, because we have a ecological preservation fund, where if you do replacement trees, you can donate to this fund. And it's not mandated, it's an option the developer has. You can either do the trees, or you can donate to the fund. In practice, well, it looks good on paper. In practice, I have yet to meet a developer that will do that. Because if we say, oh, you can donate to this fund, they say, well, what does it go towards? It says, we add trees to parks. If there's other street trees that had to be removed, we replace those. And they say, well, if I'm spending the money, I'd rather have the trees in my project than someone else's. So there are options to do it that way, but very rarely, personally, I've never seen anyone do it.
Thank you, sir. Anything else, Scott?
No, sir.
Okay. Lanier?
Thank you, Mayor. I have a few things on the items today. First thing, I want to give you an update on my first opportunity to present the concept plan for the Liberty Park project. I had an open house last Wednesday and had a whopping 1 participant show up. That 1 participant was the HOA president of Taylor Glen neighborhood. We had an opportunity to talk for about 45 minutes. He gave me some input on his residents and also for himself. The next steps in the process is to meet with OHM. They're gonna give us a proposal for a builder set, I suppose. So me and BJ can sit down at the beginning of the year to discuss which routes we're gonna go with the bidding process. Next thing on my items list will be the Eagle Scout project, Veterans Green for Freedom Park. The poles are up. He gave me an update today. He received the flags, received the lights. He's waiting for one other item, and then that project will be wrapped up. So all the flags will be in, and then we look forward to having some type of concept plan next year, and in hopes of moving forward with the project there. Third thing on my list, I gathered some samples from the playing fields at Foundation Park, sent those in, got the results. So that'll give me a little bit of opportunity to develop some type of fertilization plan for the springtime, to plan ahead. Fourth thing on my list, the ordinance or the supplemental appropriation for the Gator. Alan, myself, and also Jamie, we sat down, had a lot of savings in several accounts with myself and also him. We have a total of 2 Gators now. The 1 Gator is always used, has about 500 hours in it. The second Gator is the Gator with the Brory Hill 80-gallon spraying tank, which is only used 3 times out of the year. So it's not really getting used. It's sitting in the garage most of the year. We're asking for a Gator. We have a lot of trails that have been going in on Taylor Road, and also with the master plan that's being created. They're asking for walking trails and ways to walk the city, especially if they have park access nearby. So that's gonna fall on me to be able to plow those roads, and this will give us an opportunity to plow those sidewalks and those trails, and also give Alan an opportunity, or his department an opportunity, to utilize the Gator themselves for right-of-way spraying. And that'll free up a guy for them, because right now they have 2 guys in the truck, 1 guy driving, 1 guy spraying. So that'll free up a guy for them in the springtime and also in the summer. But I want to reiterate that it wasn't in the budget. We want to prepare for the winter snow time. Hopefully we don't need it, but if we do, we want to be prepared, and that's all I got.
So it's my understanding you're gonna take that 1 Gator that we don't use a lot and trade it in when we get the other Gator.
Towards a different one, yes.
Okay. Any questions for Lanier? Yes.
Will the new Gator have a dump bed?
The new Gator will have a dump bed.
So you'll be able to haul stuff for small projects around the
Yep.
park and everything to
Yep.
dump it?
It'll be an additional UTV vehicle for projects.
And this will
And
be
a plow.
used in the winter then to plow the trail at Municipal Park and also the new trail on Taylor Road.
Yes.
They're open and accessible to residents to use during the winter months.
Yes.
So we're responsible for both sides of Taylor, blacktop and concrete?
They are city sidewalks and trail, yes. Our ordinance requires those who own the sidewalks to, or those who have property, they own the sidewalks adjacent to the property, they need to keep them clear of all debris and hazards.
So will we start cleaning the one down by, behind?
Richard Codine?
Yes.
yes, that we
Yeah.
could add it to this as well.
All right. Questions? Mr. Higgins?
My first question is the one that's sitting because it's not a good one, or it doesn't meet our purpose? Or is it old, or is it?
It's the oldest model with 250 hours. We don't get enough use out of it, and we only use the one without the Broyhill tank is like permanent on the bed. So,
Okay, so you can't take it out and do other things?
and then have to do a lot of work and put it back in to reinstall. Yeah,
It's a two-seater and it's not four-wheel drive, correct?
Okay.
it's 4-wheel drive.
Okay.
Yep,
All right.
2-seater, 4-wheel drive, but the
Two-seater.
only use of it right now to get around the park and to spray.
Will the Broyhill go with it?
The Broyhill will go with it.
And as I understand, one of the things we've been doing is almost like one guy's driving a pickup truck, another guy's hanging out the door spraying our alleys.
That is correct.
This fixes that.
Yes.
That is correct.
Okay. The other question that I have is regard to the open house meeting that you had.
Okay.
I had talked to you, just like kind of passing the hall conversation, and there was at least an indication that the HOA or the citizens out there were not happy about the plan. Was that the message that they brought to you?
The message that he brought to me was it was mainly the properties that were adjacent to the open field, that they didn't want to see the field, grow. They wanted to see it remain green space. But overall, from the feedback we got from the survey, I'll share that with you guys at the next meeting. It was all overall good. It was pretty good, as in they liked the proposal, they liked the nature playground, they liked the path around the whole park, they liked the bridge as well. So overall, the consensus was good, minus a few outliers.
Is the "they" in that statement citizens from all over the city, or was it focused?
Focused on
Taylor Glen?
Taylor Glen, yes.
Okay, that's good, because I don't wanna, if there are concerns out there, I wouldn't want somebody living in my neighborhood to say, oh yeah, that's all great. So I'm glad that that was focused, and I'm also glad that it's not a majority of the people that live there. So, not my ward, but I did ask the question.
Mr. Walter?
Well, just a quick question. I'm a little confused about the gator stuff. So you're proposing, or I guess the departments are proposing to buy a replacement gator.
Yes.
They'll be used for spraying, weed control,
Yep.
and be outfitted with a blade of some type
It'll have a
for,
blade and also a heated cab, so if I'm out in the elements in the wintertime, I'll be able to be safe from elements going down a mile and down a mile back on Taylor Road and also Municipal Park.
okay, and so and what the other question I have for you, the gator that we have now, the 6-wheel gator that we have now with the sprayer, do you have any kind of value already?
$3,500, so the original, we're gonna get a return $3,500, total equipment cost with gator, new suspension, et cetera, $17,000 total, $3,500 for the trade-in, and then we split the remaining.
How much? Do you know the spraying equipment that you're buying for the new gator? Do you know how much that is by chance?
Thinking we had it encumbered inside of that, honestly, but I don't know the price of the 80-gallon tank, no.
The only reason why I'm asking is the gator that you're taking, I'm pretty familiar with both gators that are out there, and the one that you're trading in is in perfect shape.
Yep.
It's had zero, very, very, as you had mentioned, very little use. The tires are in great shape. It's a dump bed. It does everything except for be warm in the winter,
Yeah.
obviously. And if it's dedicated to something other than spraying, I guess my question is, can it be repurposed for something else? $3,500 seems like a very low number for a gator. To buy one that's in that good a condition, that has had very, 0 hours on it. I've personally looked for gators, so I know that is a low price. I'm just asking the question, could it be thought through that maybe this gator doesn't need to be warm in the spring and in the fall for spraying, and for doing right-of-ways, you could still utilize that gator to do what it was meant for originally. I'm not saying that the other gator is a bad idea for plowing and for being warm, but do you certainly, I hate to get rid of something that's useful and give it away, essentially.
Well, the other one that we'll have will be utilized just as much as it is now. Another good point to bring up to get it is it will get used by Alan a little bit more instead of taking the police officer's gator to ride the streets and survey and do all of his work. It'll give him an opportunity to come over and use it as much as he needs, unless of course I need it or the streets guys need it. So,
I guess I'm asking is if you took the spraying equipment out of it,
okay,
right? It's still a pretty darn good gator. I mean, it does everything that we just talked about, other than, it's not heated in the winter. It has dump bed, it can do all those things. Probably usable for, I would assume, for public utilities, for any of the other departments. I'm just concerned.
we will still have a gator.
I understand. There's a gator.
Yep.
There's two identical gators.
Yep.
One that's being used all the time and one that's being used none of the time. And we're planning on trading in the one that's being used none of the time.
Yeah.
Okay. So to me, that doesn't seem like, I mean, maybe just from me just thinking about it here for a minute or two, doesn't seem like the best process for utilizing that. Anyhow, I'll leave it at that. Thanks.
Well, that's their trade-in value. They've told me they'll give you 3,500 because
Yeah.
they're gonna buy it and sell it for 6,500. Again.
Right.
I get you. All right.
So, I mean, I think it sounds like what Mr. Walther is suggesting is we just buy
That's kind of what I'm
the
suggesting.
gator. It took a long time to get there.
Yes.
But.
Or trade in,
Awfully long time.
trade in the one that has a bunch of hours on it. One of those two.
I traded the one.
Right, Todd,
Go ahead, Mr. King.
thank you. Todd, thank you for hitting on that. That's where I was gonna go, is it's looking like, you know, for $3,500, that's not a deal changer one way or another for this, to say, hey, oh my goodness, now this is gonna be such a great deal. I think, if we kept it, it certainly could be used, whether it's at the utility plants to get around to check equipment. I know we've talked before about one, for that. Right now, I believe you guys use a golf cart.
Yeah, that's what we're using
So,
now.
which is not real conducive. So, yes, if we kept that gator, we certainly would find a use for it. What that means though is we just have to come up with another $3,500, split between the departments to be able to do it. Maybe the utilities gets it and they chip in that amount.
Sounds good
Just
to me.
simply say I agree with that.
Make it administrative vehicle.
All right, anything else for Lanier?
Yeah, I wanna make sure everybody's clear on what's going on. That's gonna change the ordinance, is that correct?
Yes, it will.
And that doesn't necessarily bother me, but does that mean that?
No. Because we haven't voted on it yet. We can amend it any way we want right now. Sorry, Mr. Mayor. We can just amend it. So.
Yeah, and that's what I was hoping to kind of look over to these guys and say, will they help us to craft it so that that amendment gets done, or can we do it up here?
We can amend it to a 3-gator ordinance. No worries.
All right.
Yes, it can be amended to go from the 14,000 up to the 17,000 or whatever.
To make that amendment, we'll need to know those exact numbers, I
Yes,
guess.
I believe Lanier has them.
Anything else for Lanier? Chief Brooks, what do you got for me?
Thank you, Mayor. I actually have nothing this evening. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions.
I have a question for the chief. I mean, how are your gators doing, chief, while we're on gators? How are your gators doing?
It is awesome.
Okay,
Yeah,
if you don't need any more,
But no, we're good with the one we have.
the one you got?
We use it quite frequently, but, yeah.
Awesome.
And we just ordered especially for the cookie walk,
I already have it installed.
the windshield. The windshield on for inclement weather, so good.
Ready to go.
Anything for Chief? Committee chair reports. Any committee chair reports? All right, seeing none, unfinished business. Ordinance 2018-4314 for a fourth reading.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Higgins.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Barstow. Kathy, when you're ready.
Ordinance 2018-4314, this is the fourth reading, and ordinance to rezone properties located at 14379 East Broad Street, parcel number 063-1469446-00.000, 14359 East Broad Street, parcel number 063-143-604-00.000, 14305 Columbus Road, parcel number 063-141-930-00.000, and 14271 Columbus Road, parcel number 063-141-306-00.000, totaling 20.35 plus or minus acres in the city of Pataskla from the medium low density residential district R87 zoning classification and general business district GB zoning classification to the general business district GB zoning classification.
Discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance 2018-4314.
Got a motion to adopt?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Barstow. Discussion? And roll.
Barstow?
Yes.
Hayes?
Yes.
Pickens?
Yes.
Lee?
Yes.
Carter?
Yes.
Walther?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Ordinance passes. Ordinance 2018-4325 for a third reading.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Hicken,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Barstow. Kathy, when you're ready, third reading.
Ordinance 2018-4325, this is the third reading, an ordinance to make appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the city of Pataskla, state of Ohio during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2019, and to authorize approved interfund transfers.
Discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I move that we adopt ordinance 2018-4325.
Got a motion to adopt,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Powell. Discussion? And roll.
Hicken?
Yes.
Lee?
Yes.
Carter?
Yes.
Walther?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Barstow?
Yes.
Hayes?
Yes.
Ordinance passes. Ordinance 2018-4326 for a third reading.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Hicken, seconded by Mr. Barstow. Kathy, when you're ready. Third reading.
Ordinance 2018-4326, this is the third reading, an ordinance amending ordinance 2017-4301, establishing the allocation of income tax collections received by the city of Pataskla pursuant to ordinance 2010-3959.
Discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Hicken?
I make a motion to adopt ordinance 2018-4326.
Got a motion to adopt,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Barstow. Discussion? And roll.
Carter?
Yes.
Walther?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Barstow?
Yes.
Hayes?
Yes.
Pickens?
Yes.
Lee?
Yes.
Ordinance passes. Ordinance 2018-4328 for a third reading.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Barstow,
Second.
seconded by Mrs. Hayes. Kathy, when you're ready.
Ordinance 2018-4328, this is the third reading, an ordinance to amend the Pataskla Schedule of Fees.
Discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr.
I
Barstow?
move that we adopt ordinance 2018-4328.
Got a motion to adopt,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Powell, Mr. Lee, sorry. Kathy, roll please.
Powell?
Yes.
Barstow?
Yes.
Hayes?
Yes.
Pickens?
Yes.
Lee?
Yes.
Carter?
Yes.
Walther?
Yes.
Ordinance passes. Ordinance 2018-4329 for a second reading.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Hicken,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Barstow. Kathy, when you're ready, second reading.
Ordinance 2018-4329, this is the second reading, an ordinance to make supplemental appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2018.
Discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I make a motion to amend ordinance 2018-4329 by substitution.
Got a motion to amend?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Lee. Discussion? Yes,
So
sir.
to clarify, based on the, keeping the gator, the existing gator, not trading it in, the new total is just a little over 17,000, so I would recommend or request that we set the public service, I don't have the updated ordinance in front of me, but there's section 11 and 12. They're now gonna be each covering 8,500, or 8,550, $8,550 for a total of $17,100.
Okay, Kathy, you writing that down?
Yes.
$85,
$8,550 for the
From
street
each
fund,
fund.
and $8,550 from, I believe, the general fund covering the parks portion of it, for a total of $17,100.
For 17.
Yeah, I mean, it's a few dollars under, but that's cleaner.
All right, so, this is to, a vote on the motion to amend the ordinance.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
because the amendment right now, that
Okay, yeah.
is,
Okay, you need to make another motion to amend.
well, I would either ask Mr. Hicken to withdraw his motion or to amend it per our discussion this evening.
Mr. Zatz, what's the best way to do this?
Someone second your motion to amend yet?
Yes. I think.
Yeah, I did.
Yes?
Tommy did.
Yeah, we're in the discussion phase of amending the motion.
I think technically because you truly seconded, I don't know if you can withdraw
Okay,
it at this
I
point.
wasn't sure somebody had seconded, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, technically you could, if you really wanted to be proper in procedure, you could deny that request, then amend the amendment, and then vote on what would be the new amendment. If you really wanted to follow the process, but that's a lot of votes.
Well, we do want to follow the process and do it correctly, so.
So take a vote on it, just
Okay.
deny it if that's what you want, try again.
Kathy, I need a roll call on the motion to amend by substitution, and then we'll start over.
Hayes,
No.
Hicken,
No.
Lee,
No.
Carter,
No.
Walther,
No.
Howe,
No.
Barstow,
No.
Yeah, someone could show
Mo-
this.
Motion fails. Mr. Barstow,
Aw.
you take a stab at this?
Mr. Mayor, thank you. So I would make a motion to amend, by substitution, to add in sections 11 and 12 of ordinance 2018-4329, to change the amounts in both section 11 and section 12 to $8,550, and those would be split equally between the Public Service Department and the Parks and Recreation Department.
Got a motion, need a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mr. Walther. Discussion? And roll, please, when you're ready.
Hicken,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Walther,
Yep.
Howe,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
So a motion to amend passes, and we'll be seeing that in 2 weeks. All right, on to new business. Ordinance 2018-4327 for a first reading.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Hicken, seconded by Mr. Barstow. Kathy, when you're ready.
Ordinance 2018-4327, this is the first reading, an ordinance to rezone property located at 997 North Oxford Drive, parcel number 064307680-00.000, totaling 3.91 plus or minus acres, in the city of Pataskala from Planned Development District PDD zoning classification to the Professional Research Office Pro zoning classification.
Discussion? Okay, on the resolutions, Resolution 2018-054, resolution authorizing and directing the city administrator to enter into professional services agreement with Hall Associates, formerly Jobs Henderson, for professional engineering services for fiscal year 2019.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Higgins,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Barstow. Discussion? And roll.
Carter,
Yes.
Walther,
Yes.
Howe,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Hicken,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 2018-055, resolution authorizing and directing the city administrator to enter into an agreement with Mr. John Udicious for the installation of voice and data equipment at the new Pataskala Police Station.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Higgins, seconded by Mr. Barstow. Discussion, Mr. Walther.
BJ, I've got two questions on the original budget that was given to the city on this. Who gave that budget?
Who gave that budget? It was part of the design for.
Was it the architect?
According to, yeah.
Okay. Okay, great. And the second, I have not personally seen an update on where we are in the budget for the police station. I don't know if that's being generated for the Building and Ground Committee or whatever the case may be, but I would certainly ask that we be able to see maybe before the end of the year.
We have that with all the change orders and everything, the pluses
That
and
would be great.
minuses and everything.
I think that would be great if we could see that.
Where that is. So.
Thanks.
Okay, any other discussion on the resolution? All right, roll call, please.
Walther,
Yes?
Powell,
Yes.
Barstow.
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Hicken,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Resolution passes. Any motion?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to appoint Mr. Robert Begarow, Mr. Randall Ripley, and Mr. Rick Boggs to the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Have a motion? Need a second? Seconded by Mr. Barstow. Discussion? And roll.
Powell,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Hicken,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Walters,
Yes.
Motion passes. Mr. Hicken?
I'd also like to make a motion to appoint Ms. Becky Smith and Mr. Troy Mills to the Personnel Board of Review, open seats that are open.
I'll second.
Got a motion by Mr. Hicken, seconded by Mr. Walther. Discussion? And roll.
Barstow,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Hicken,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Walther,
Yes?
Powell,
Yes.
Motion passes. Mr. Hicken?
I have a final motion. I'd like to make a motion to appoint Ms. April Begarow to the Personnel Board of Review seat ending December 31st, 2019.
Second.
Got a motion by Mr. Hicken, seconded by Mr. Barstow. Discussion? And roll.
Hayes,
Yes.
Hicken,
Yes?
Lee,
Yes.
Carter,
No.
Walther,
Yes?
Powell,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Motion passes. Additional citizens' comments. Anybody wish to speak tonight? Seeing none, Mr. Hicken.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to move into executive session pursuant to Ohio Revised Code 121.22G3. I move that we enter into an executive session for the purpose of the conference with an attorney for the public body concerning disputes involving the public body that are the subject of pending or imminent court action. Invited into the executive session are Mr. King and Mr. Zatzlager.
Got a motion? Need a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Powell. Discussion? And roll, please.
Hicken,
Yes?
Lee,
Yes.
Carter,
Abstain.
Walther,
Yes?
Powell,
Yes.
Barstow,
No.
Hayes,
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. We're going upstairs, obviously.
Yeah, and just so we're clear on the record, I'm not exactly sure what we were talking about, but Mel, if you stay down here and not come into executive session, and after I go up and figure out exactly what we're talking about, if I believe you can come up, I'll come down and get you. Otherwise, stay down here.
I prefer not to.
Good deal.
Thank you though, very much.
Okay, into executive session at 8:14. Need a motion to come out of executive session?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Powell, seconded by Mr. Lee. Roll call, please.
Lee,
Yes.
Carter,
Recusing myself, not abstaining.
Walther,
Yes?
Powell,
Yes.
Barstow? Hayes?
Yes.
Pickens?
Yes.
Out of executive session at 8:43.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to say, quickly to correct the record earlier, I meant to say I recuse myself from the vote for the executive session, not abstain. I misspoke. So I just want to put that on record.
All right, very good. All right, let's go roundy round here. We'll start with Suzanne.
I'm looking forward to the cookie walk. It looks like it's gonna be amazing. And, excited that, people are starting to get excited about it. And I know Sarah, she's such a big asset to our community, so that'll be fun. And Mayor, I always look forward to seeing you lead direct traffic or do your best and be amazing, so that's all I have.
Mrs. Carter.
I have nothing.
Mr. Barstow.
I have nothing. Well, I just want to say, great, we got the budget passed tonight. That's awesome.
Yes, thank you, council.
Thanks. That's all I have. Thanks.
Mr. Hicken.
I want to thank the members that volunteered tonight to be on the boards. Without them, the boards would not be working. I want to welcome Chris Sharrock. I appreciate him stepping in the meantime for Nathan's departure. And I want to wish everybody a very happy and safe Thanksgiving. That's it for me.
You know, the cookie walk went from 25 businesses to 70, and it is a huge event. The parade's getting bigger. That's a great community event to ring in the holidays. And in fact, I want to thank BJ and Jason. I don't know if you guys know, but Rotary and I have been working on, well, there's going to be a Christmas tree planted at at the Veterans Green, close to the gazebo, about a 10-foot blue spruce, so that we can start to decorate a tree every year and light it. So, very excited about that. Rotary's buying the tree, and Mr. Willits from Willits Nursery right here in Pataskala is gonna plant it, and we'll have a nice tree that'll grow in the spot we picked. We may have to prune it every once in a while, but to keep it so that it doesn't obviously outgrow the site, but it'll be a nice asset. So I'm really excited about this Christmas. We had a great week last week with Veterans Day, and then right after Veterans Day, that Tuesday, we obviously, you've probably seen it online and on TV, but Pulte Homes and Centex gave that veteran a house, and it was kind of neat to see that. We broke ground in July, and last Tuesday, he walked into a house that he didn't know at the time, but was fully furnished, and they spent their first night in Pataskala. So, really neat story. Cookie walk, that's, and then that's about it. Anything, Mr. Zetz?
I do not.
And happy Thanksgiving, everybody, by the way. Mr. Walter?
Two things. Sarah did, and I echo what Suzanne said about the cookie walks. Sarah did ask me just to invite everybody. It's a great time down there. If you plan on going for cookies, try to show up early because the bags go quickly. This year they are anticipating to have additional bags, another 200 additional bags that will go for the 26, I forget what they call them, Jolly Holly stops. But there's 70, and then of the 70, 26 of them are going to do an additional 200 cookies. So 600 cookies for those spots is pretty amazing for those businesses, which is fantastic for supporting. The second, Mr. Kendall, who came in and asked to be thought of for the planning and zoning, I do appreciate everyone, council, kind of staying to what we had talked about previously about making sure applications get in on time. And I mean, unfortunately, I believe that he's done a great job and served in the Planning and Zoning Commission, at its fullest. But I think it's also important that the people that did put in their application on time, those are kind of the rules. And I think the last time we did this, we kind of talked about not bending those rules. So I appreciate that. And I want to thank everybody that did come in and apply for it. It's great to have extras. So, yeah, thank you very much.
Mr. Powell?
I just wanna, again, thank everybody who, applied for positions on boards, commissions, got a great group, Mr. Boggs, Mr. Ripley, got to serve with them for a year on planning and zoning, and they're doing great work, and thanks to Mr. Kendall for his years serving. And then also, to Doss and his girlfriend Jessie, who were the recipients of the house. We live in the same neighborhood as them now, so, welcome to Pataskala, welcome to the neighborhood. It's a small token of everyone's appreciation for his service. He definitely deserves it, so, that's it.
Mr. Lee?
Have a happy Thanksgiving and go Bucks. And motion to adjourn.
Got a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Seconded by Mrs. Hayes. Discussion? And roll.
Carter,
Yes.
Walters,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Hayes. Yes. Hicken.
Yes.
Mead.
Yes. Meeting adjourned.
Chairs down or start to yell at you. Where's she?
So I have a
Yes.
to yell at somebody today.
She feels like yelling.
I probably have yelled at somebody
I just thought
today.
about this. Hey, thanks.